16th, and it's another week. Well, actually, we skipped 2 weeks, so because we were in Vancouver last week. So we came back and we're just checking on the progress right now. It's the week of June 16th. So I guess in coming back, we're seeing that they have laid the foundation, or not laid the foundation. They put the wood boards so that they can lay the foundation afterwards. So you can kind of make out how the footprint of the house is like now. Right, you know, we got the this is the utility room over here, right? And then there is the stairs, there is a panic room, and that's the middle part there. We don't know what we're gonna do yet. And the back portion same, whether it's gonna be storage or in the middle part the gym or something. We'll figure something out later. And so that's the basement, and then you know afterwards they're gonna build this up. And then from the ground floor, the entrance, the main hall, where there's going to be the double ceiling area, the double height ceiling area. Up above here is going to be where the entertainment room, the back bedroom, and then in the back there is where the dining area is going to be, the kitchen, the study, and then the mudroom, and then a breezeway leading to our garage, storage, barn, no, not barn yet, but garage area. Yeah. So there's a lot of dirt that's around. And the materials are over there. Yeah. So aside from just the layout and where it's at with the house, like something maybe we can talk about today is kind of how the design kind of came about. Okay, and I think for us there was a while when we thought of even having a one level like style house, and we thought of different designs. We thought of at a point we even thought of having more of a Japanese, Asian, Chinese style format, where you know there's some of the Chinese design that would have like an internal courtyard, and you know, with the with the house of surrounding the courtyard on all four sides. So we realized that, or we're thinking about further, there would be a lot of walls or a lot of surface areas, and hence that would lead to a lot of construction costs. So we abandoned that idea. We always wanted to kind of build a more European style house, more British, more French. Well, more British, and I think that came out from our Cotswold travels. And so, you know, we have all these inspirations creating this kind of English cottage house. Well, and from there, we're like, is it English cottage or is it English manor or what, right? And of course, when you look up on Pinterest and you know, internet search of images, you see all these European English mansions and castles, which could be very nice, but of course, you know, comes the reality of now building it or designing it, and then the reality sets in, and then you know, so you start kind of like thinking about how to make the building more efficient in terms of layout and construction cost. And so we thought about building it more straight up, a little bit like a Georgian style, right? So that this way the building would, you know, on all four sides would go up. It's supposed to go wide. This way, you know, there'll be less roofing and things like that, right? In doing so, at first we drew up different sizing of designs, whether that be 30-something hundred square feet to 5,000 square feet to like 7-something thousand square feet, and we flip-flopped for a while between these different sizes. You know, we were kind of saying to ourselves, do we actually need that much space? Not really, but you know, having our grounds at 100 acres, it doesn't make sense to build bigger. And we're like, okay, you know, even if we don't need it, since it's just the two of us and occasional family that might come, or Pepper, our dog. And so how much space do you actually need? And so but we thought eventually if there was a day that we might sell, or what you don't want to do is you build and then afterwards you realize you don't have enough space, and then you end up trying to have these extensions to the house that doesn't make sense. And you know, sometimes you go into these houses that never make sense. There are all these like truncated hallways and that connect to spaces that doesn't really make the whole layout make sense. So we don't want to do that. If anything, really bite the bullet and just go for it, right? So we were seeing that some of the construction costs in Toronto, and we were trying to get an understanding for that from all the crazy construction cost hikes from after pandemic or during or after pandemic. And so being quoted like whether that be $400, $500 a foot or whatever, we're trying to make sense out of that, right? And as much as you might be like $300 or $3 something a foot in the city, building out here, it's a wild card, because it relates to whether you got enough servicing around here, like construction and various different servicing support. Also related to how your site is like as well, right? Because you got power lines that you might need to connect, and depending on how far away from where the closest connection is, that could really be different, right? We realized later on where we want the house. We want the house to be more in the central spot amongst 100 acres. So the connection from the edge of the site, where there's actually power connected to the edge of our site, and bringing that in is, it's kind of like a $40,000-$50,000 power line connection cost, right? So this is something to kind of like think about, because all those are kind of things that would escalate your rural build cost. Okay. So anyway, coming back, right? So from 5,000 square foot, and it was above ground, we were trying to see where the utility room would be, and our construction and consultants were like, what? Well, they're thinking of planting the utilities into the crawl space in somewhat like a floor underneath the ground, and it was going to be 6 foot tall. And we're like, if that's the case, why don't we raise the floor by 2 feet and at least get like an 8 foot basement? And now you have an entire basement floor. We don't necessarily have use for the basement space, and Angela really hates windows, so there wouldn't be any windows either. So it's kind of like this darker space. There was this one idea that Angela had, that she wanted a bunker, almost like an apocalyptic bomb shelter bunker like thing, and we thought we would have it actually kind of like a little bit away from the house. And so with this basement idea, we thought it might actually make sense to have this in the basement, and so that this way we'll put in it. The only thing is that it's underneath the house. If the house was coming down or something, then the house would collapse down into the space. But then if we were able to reinforce it enough, and right now we're even designing it so that there could be like these submarine steel bunker doors. We research and see that there's some of these things that you can acquire. So we're going to have that over there in the basement, right? So that was one addition that we added in to justify, and it's just more space. You have 6 foot space, plus adding another 2 feet, you get like the whole floor already. So now the house becomes 7,500 square feet, right? 2,500 up round, roughly around 2,500 square feet each floor. So times 3, you get 7,500 square feet. So it's more space than we need, but we hope that by being more efficient, and trying to kind of find these kind of areas where we can create space and usable space, that's what we've done. But in seeing the site now, maybe just, I don't know, by seeing the foundation, it makes it feel like it almost looks a little smaller than we thought, or we have in mind. So we just kind of have to see how, when the house gets built up, when you see the structure coming up tall, see how that's like. Or maybe it's just overall in the context of this overall surrounding, because everything else is so huge, so makes whatever you see here kind of smaller. So that's something that we have to wait and see then. So I think that wraps up kind of what I want to talk about this week, and we'll see what happens next week then, or the week after. Okay.